Soos genoem gesels ek vanoggend met Fred Hume en hy is die besturende direkteur van Hume Internasionaal. Fred, welcome to Grootplaas.
Thank you, Mia. Much appreciated.
I think this is quite an important time to just focus on this topic. Tell me about what's happening at the moment.
Mia, okay, as you mentioned in your intro there, bird flu has spread throughout the globe. It's essentially almost every major producing country in the world has experienced outbreaks. Currently, South Africa is only permitted to import poultry from 3 US states, as well as Brazil. All of Europe is and has remained closed for exports of poultry to South Africa for some time, even although certain countries have been declared free of bird flu subsequently, most notably and most recently Ireland. Yeah.
So when I see and I hear people talk of these irrational trade laws, what does that mean in practice, in reality?
Well, yeah, the health certificates covering bird flu were written many, many years ago. At the time, outbreaks of bird flu were sporadic and infrequent. This has changed. Bird flu is now endemic in every poultry flock in the world. And these outbreaks are reoccurring and frequent and not bound by seasonality or migration of birds. Yeah. So unfortunately, I think legislation or health certificates have fallen behind current developments and need to be amended, to take into account the current reality.
And I'm sure people know, but for somebody who might not know, just give me a breakdown of bird flu. I mean, why is it so serious, or why is it causing so much problems?
Well, bird flu or avian influenza is not harmful to human beings at all. However, it is lethal and deadly to poultry. And unfortunately, when an outbreak occurs, you have to eradicate that as soon as possible.
Yes.
By culling the birds themselves.
Yes.
And that's essentially it. But to give you an example, I mean, if there's an outbreak of bird flu in Germany, say,
Yes.
that poultry can be traded freely in the EU without any restriction whatsoever. So, but unfortunately, it can't be exported to many countries around the world. And you mentioned the OIE rules, and South Africa previously subscribed to that. So essentially, the market closed and it reopened 3 months after the last recorded outbreak, and this was automatic. And this was how it was done for many, many years. The South African government then, took it upon themselves to follow their own direction. They changed this up and insisted that they then visit these countries of origin after they were declared free of bird flu, to audit facilities. They then promptly came back and said they don't have budget to do it. When us as importers and producers in these respective countries of origin offered to pay for these trips to audit these facilities, they turned that down, claiming that it was a conflict of interest.
Sure. And I'm sure the impact is quite enormous. If you can break it out, if you can bring it to South Africa, what impact does it have on the industry?
Well, it has restricted the countries we can source product from. As I mentioned, we currently are left with 2 countries which we can source from, and from the US, only 3 states, in fact. So our concern here is, at the moment, we are managing to source sufficient quantities of poultry from Brazil and the US. Most importantly is the flow of MDM, or mechanically deboned poultry, from Brazil to South Africa. Currently, we import in excess of 20 million kilograms of this product on a monthly basis. This is used in the manufacturing of products like Viennas, Russians, and French bologna. And unfortunately, there is no suitable substitute, and South Africa produces minimal quantities of this. The local producers produce a bit of it for their own value-added production, but nothing for sale into the open market. So essentially, and that's our concern.
Yes.
We are asking government to be proactive here. We need to look at these health certificates now while Brazil still remains open. Considering that Brazil is situated on a continent and surrounded by countries that have been closed because of bird flu outbreaks, most notably Argentina, Uruguay, Bolivia, Chile, to name some.
Yeah.
And it's very possible and almost likely that Brazil might follow the same course or suffer the same fate. And if this happens, we shut off the supply of mechanically deboned meat to South Africa. And I believe that we currently, as a country, in store hold no more than 2 months worth of raw material. After that, factories and facilities around the country grind to a halt, and in excess of 25,000 people won't have a job.
Yeah, it's really shocking. If we can take a moment, just the World Organization, the rules, the regulations. If you can break that down, what does it actually say?
Well, essentially, importing and exporting countries agree on a health certificate.
Yes.
So that's the contract that governs their, their relationship, and it sets out the rules that are applied, for the flow of these goods. Okay, and it's believed, it's widely accepted that if a country identifies the outbreak, it then exterminates those birds, destroys them, and it then cleanses or cleans the facilities, and thereafter, if no further outbreaks are recorded, after 3 months, trade resumes as normal, and it's considered that the poultry that is then shipped is not. There's no ways in which it could then transmit bird flu from one country to another. It's safe safe for the poultry flock in the country of destination, right? So, but again, as we've said. Okay, these health certificates differ from country to country. The US has a preferential arrangement with South Africa whereby they have negotiated regionalization. So in the event of a bird flu outbreak, say in North Carolina, they don't shut down the entire country. They only close North Carolina. Canada has not been as fortunate. An outbreak of bird flu anywhere in Canada, which is almost the size of a continent itself, it shuts down the entire country. As we've seen, Canada's been locked out of the South African market for a long time now, and their authorities are attempting to negotiate with South Africa to secure a regionalization agreement.
And the thing is, we actually can't look at this matter without taking the South African economy in regards. I mean, chicken imports, it's crucial for local plates and pockets. I mean, it plays such a big role in our economy, right?
100%. And fortunately, for once, I'm not sitting here at loggerheads or butting heads with the domestic producers. What we are asking for here is not something that affects them in any way, shape, or form. In fact, many of the domestic producers of poultry use mechanically deboned meat from Brazil in their production processes, manufacturing the products we mentioned earlier. So we are not competing with them essentially. We are trying to ensure the free flow or the continuous free flow of mechanically deboned meat from Brazil to South Africa, regardless of whether they suffer a bird flu outbreak or not. And the mechanisms to deal with that would be things like regionalization, or you could look at, for instance, only banning production from a certain of product produced within a certain radius of the recorded outbreak.
Yes.
Or you could go further and you could approve heat treatment of MDM on arrival in country, something that the South African Meat Producers Association are actively engaging government on. And this protocol is already accepted for pork. So imported pork products, some bone-in and other, mostly bone-in, but also some boneless cuts are subject to heat treatment on arrival in approved facilities with under rigorous, shall I say, guidelines and the auspices of the Department of Agriculture. So essentially, if you import bird flu from a country that suffered a bird flu outbreak and you heat treat it, okay, that then basically negates any harmful or any danger, should I say, and of contamination or spread to the domestic flock.
Yeah, because I think a fact that needs to be noted is the fact that chicken remains South Africa's most affordable animal protein, obviously aside from milk. Now, it plays such a big role in families, and when we look at food prices, things are already almost getting out of hand. What's the worst case scenario that you guys are not scared of, but just cautious of?
Look, unfortunately, our businesses are built on flows of product from Brazil. MDM accounts for 25% of our turnover, 35% of our volumes. We would suffer a devastating.
Yes.
And of course, this would then spill over to all related industries, cold stores that clear these goods, transporters that move these goods, production facilities that produce finished goods from these products, retailers that stock these goods. So massive knock-on effects. And certainly this will have an effect on food price inflation, which has increased dramatically.
It has, yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And I can assure you that, if Brazil is closed and the government don't agree to amend the health certificate, agree to something like, heat treatment of the product on arrival or regionalization, you'd see those prices of poultry per kilo tick up dramatically.
And I'm sure,
further from a high base.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the pressure is on. There is pressure on government. I'm sure you guys are making sure that the heat is on.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we're actively lobbying and petitioning as best we can. We do believe that government has reacted recently. I can give you two examples. Government recently suspended dumping duties on imported French fries. They also postponed the implementation of anti-dumping duties on Brazilian poultry. So in a sense, I do believe, government are paying attention to this fact. We just urge them to move with great speed here. We feel that currently there might be a level of apathy, and this is as a result of the fact that Brazil still remains open. And for now, there is no crisis as yet because product is still flowing. But unfortunately, this could change overnight. We could wake up tomorrow morning and the news could be all over. Yeah, correct.
That really is scary to think about that. We've got around 2 minutes left. I just want to hear from you, seeing that we have this opportunity to chat now. What do you think should be done more for the poultry industry in South Africa to ensure growth, to ensure safety, to ensure just the safety of the industry?
Well, if you look at the local poultry industry, I believe them to be relatively or fairly efficient, when compared to their global peers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they operate in a very harsh environment. We have serious energy crisis, a lot of challenges. I mean, water is a problem. Energy and water are used intensively by these industries. Oh my goodness! I mean, we could hop on for days at the challenges they face. So I feel for them. I mean, unfortunately, very hard to compete with your global peers in first world countries. That have first world infrastructure. Unfortunately, but. So certainly, I think much has been done to protect the domestic poultry producers in the form of duties and so on and so forth. I just feel that government should revert to applying the OIE rules and also respect the free trade agreement between South Africa and the EU.
Yes.
At the end of the day, if there's dumping or there are allegations of dumping, by all means investigate them. But let's be fair about it. And at the end of the day, imports do play a role in regulating price for sure. So if the domestic producers have the market all to themselves, they almost have a license, then to dictate, price to a degree. Yeah. And that can't be good for the consumer either.
Fred, that is amazing. And it's I think one of those things that the heat just it just has to be given. The pressure's got to be given. Thank you for what you're doing and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Mia. All the best.
Thanks.